episode 471 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I will be talking about tonight's special episode of AEW Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen, which features an AEW International Championship match, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match, and the Young Bucks taking on the Guns in the main event. Right here, right now, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello, Wrestling Fanatics. Welcome to this Wednesday night episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Tonight, we'll be talking about the special episode of AEW Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen, for the Maui Food Bank to benefit from the Maui wildfires. And speaking of the Maui Food Bank, you can help at shopaew.com with this week's Top Rope Tuesday shirt, which is the special Fight for the Fallen tie-dye shirt. And the proceeds go to the Maui Food Bank. And since it is the Top Rope Tuesday shirt this week, is only available for 1 week until next Tuesday at shopaew.com. And now let's get into tonight's Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen, which was live from Nashville, Tennessee at the Bridgestone Arena. Our commentators tonight, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz. And we kick things off on Fight for the Fallen tonight with a match for the AEW International Championship. The champion, freshly squeezed, Orange Cassidy, defending against Wheeler Yuta, a former, I guess you could say, protege of his, someone that knows him very well. And this match here, I thought, was a pretty good one. I enjoyed it. Yuta and Orange Cassidy, I thought, worked really well together in this one. And they're still selling the injuries, the bad hand, the taped up back of the neck, and the lower back of Orange Cassidy. And we see the Blackpool Combat Club make their way to ringside. And at one point, Cassidy goes for an orange punch, but misses that. And then he sees the BCC when they show up at ringside, and he hits Jon Moxley's paradigm shift. And then Cassidy hits an orange punch. And then Yuta rolls him up to get a near fall, and then OC pins Yuta to retain the AEW International Championship. then after the match, he is attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club, and then the best friends make their way out for the save of Orange Cassidy. And then the Lucha Brothers come out looking for revenge against the BCC. They come out with steel chairs, and then at this time, we see the return to AEW of Eddie Kingston back from New Japan Pro Wrestling now that the G1 Climax tournament is over. And he puts out a challenge to the Blackpool Combat Club, himself, the Lucha Brothers, Best Friends, and Orange Cassidy for All in London in Stadium Stampede. And then later on, it was made official that we will see Stadium Stampede in Wembley Stadium at All in London. And definitely looking forward to seeing that, since so far the only other two Stadium Stampedes we have seen in AEW history have been at Daly's place during the COVID virus time, and the second time, I should say, was there actually were fans, but it was at the time when they were only allowed to have limited amount of fans. And like I said, once again, that was at Daly's place. And looking forward to the third Stadium Stampede in AEW history. And then next up, Don Callis is in the ring. He has a picture set up in the corner, but it is covered up. And Chris Jericho comes out to give his answer on whether he will be joining the Don Callis family or not. And Chris Jericho once again talks about how he does not join factions, but he says yes, and he says he's going to be selfish. And Don Callis at this time actually looks surprised when Jericho does say yes, that he will join the Don Callis family, and they celebrate and hug, and Don Callis wants them to go out to the bar, celebrate, drink, and then Jericho notices the picture and he wants to see it, and Don says that it's just another picture of him, Jericho, and Bad News Allen, and he tries to get him to leave, tries to get him not to look at it, but then Jericho goes over to the picture anyway, and he takes the covering off of it, and he sees that this one is actually a painting of Don Callis holding Chris Jericho's head. That's been, I guess, maybe some sorry about that. This is, I guess, supposed to have been cut off his body, maybe. He's holding it in his head. And of course, Jericho is upset by this. and he asked Don if he thought that he was going to say no. And Don first says that the artist made a mistake and did the wrong picture, something like that. And then finally, Don admitted that he thought Jericho was going to say no. And then they do end up getting into it a little bit, arguing here. And then we see Konosuke Takeshita come down, attack Jericho, and then we see Will Ospreay come in and bust Jericho open, and then Don Callis breaking the picture over the head of Chris Jericho. It was actually already rumored a little while back that Will Ospreay could possibly be the opponent for Chris Jericho at All in London, and now it definitely looks like that is what we are going to see. Ospreay versus Jericho, which should definitely be an interesting matchup, and definitely a very good one. And then later, Jericho cuts a promo with the dried up blood on his forehead and he talks about how Jericho vs. Ospreay was actually going to take place at the Tokyo Dome, but it had to be canceled because of COVID. So, good promo from Jericho here, I thought. And then, also, I might be going out of order here, but the sit-down interview with Jim Ross interviewing Kenny Omega at Daly's place, actually. And Kenny Omega first gives a pretty good interview on his relationship with Don Callis. Talks about how Don was pretty much family, called him Uncle Don. And then we see Don Callis, and then Omega is jumped by Bullet Club Gold, Jay White and Juice Robinson, and then we see Konosuke Takeshita 3-on-1 against Kenny Omega here. And we have tag team action now. Darby Allin and Nick Wayne taking on the Gates of Agony, and while Darby and Wayne here are making their entrance, they are attacked as they are coming down the ramp by the Gates of Agony. And I forgot, sorry for going backwards here, but the first match, Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta, I'd say I have to give that 3 out of 5 ring bells. Sorry, I forgot to give that rating after I talked about the match. And this tag match here, I thought it was an alright match. I'd say 2 out of 5 ring bells. Darby Allin and Nick Wayne get the win. And then after the match, on the screen we see Sting doing the Joker character, talking about the coffin match coming up at All in London. And one thing that we noticed during this match, that Prince Nana wasn't at ringside, And we see that is because Sting has Prince Nana. And like I said, Nana ran away, and Sting, doing the Joker character and talking about the coffin match coming up at All in London. Also, we get another vignette segment with the AEW World Champion MJF and Adam Cole, baby. And since they are facing Aussie Open for the AEW, or excuse me, for the ROH World Tag Team Championships at the 0 hour before All in London, they are at a Outback Steakhouse. They go in, eat a bunch of food, and then come back out. And Adam Cole, since Outback Steakhouse was actually MJF's idea, Adam Cole wants them to watch the first 2 Crocodile Dundee movies, and they watch those. And now MJF apparently wants his new move to be the kangaroo kick. And then they are at the arena for Dynamite doing stuff backstage, and they double clothesline the guy, and then we hear Tony Khan yell at him. They go in his office, shut the door behind them, and then TK yells at them some more. And then after they come out, MJF makes a comment about 2024 when his contract is up. And then we see Tony Khan open the door. He says, "What did you say?" And he says, he backtracks a bit. And I thought this segment was pretty good between Cole and MJF. And next up on Fight for the Fallen, which is sponsored by the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game. It is now time for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. Jeff Jarrett taking on Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy makes his entrance first, and I thought this was kind of funny at first that he went over the rail, went through the crowd and into the back, and then it kind of made sense that in the back, the corridors part was kind of darkly lit, and then there was some weapons and stuff on the walls. Jeff Jarrett attacks Hardy from behind, and then at this time, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Sonam Singh, and of course Karen Jarrett get involved. And then we see Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, or Brother Zay, I should say, and All Ego, Ethan Page get involved. Jeff and Karen Jarrett get some blood poured all over them, and look like a horror movie, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I guess. Especially Karen Jarrett. She looked like she just came out of a horror movie. And this one, pretty crazy. Of course, goes all over the place. And then we go to a picture-in-picture break. They brawl all through the back. And then they come out back to the arena by the entrance, and they eventually do make it into the ring, and it looks like Hardy is about to pick up the victory, and all of a sudden we hear these chainsaw sounds, and it's Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and he comes out with the chainsaw, and they kind of made it sound like, on commentary anyway, that Jeff Jarrett said he was going to have Leatherface on his side, but then when he comes out, he kicks Sanjay Dutt in the gut, and he chases Karen Jarrett to the back. So, not really on the side of Jeff Jarrett at all. And then in the ring, Saddam Singh is behind Jeff Hardy, chokeslams him, and Jeff Jarrett is able to pick up the win by defeating Jeff Hardy in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. This match, I'd say, I have to admit that it was pretty crazy, maybe kinda a little silly at times, but overall I did kinda enjoy it as well. I'd have to say 2.5 out of 5. Ring bells wasn't really bad, but I also definitely wouldn't say it was that great either. And next up, women's action to determine who will be in the 4-way for the AEW Women's Championship match at All in London. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on the Bunny. Pretty good match here. I wouldn't say anything real spectacular, but not bad. Britt Baker gets the win, defeating the Bunny, and to advance to the 4-way at All in London. And now it is main event time here on AEW Dynamite. Fight for the Fallen 2023. We have the Young Bucks taking on the Guns, two brothers, tag teams in this main event. And pretty good tag team match, actually, I thought here. It is the Young Bucks getting the win. I'd say 3 out of 5 ring bells for this one. Pretty entertaining main event, I thought. After the match, Bullet Club Gold gets involved, immediately attacking the Young Bucks, and we hear FTR's music, and Juice goes to meet them up at the ramp, but then FTR run into the ring to go after Jay White and the Guns, and Juice Robinson takes a shatter machine, and then the Bucks get back up to chase off Bullet Club Gold, as FTR and the Young Bucks are set to face off 2-on-2 for the AEW World Tag Team Championships at All in London, which I'm sure will be a great tag team match between those two teams. Definitely should be a really good match there. for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And that is all for tonight's AEW Dynamite special episode, Fight for the Fallen. Overall, I'd say a really good episode of AEW tonight. And I'd say overall for this special episode of Dynamite, I'd have to say probably 7.5 out of 10 ring bells. And also remember the Maui Food Bank. You can go to shopaew.com right now until next Tuesday and order the special Fight for the Fallen tie-dye shirt. The proceeds go to the Maui Food Bank. And before I wrap up this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, get into a little bit of news. As I talked about a little bit this morning on Good Morning Wrestling Fans, Lacey Evans is officially gone from WWE. Her contract is up. So she is officially gone from the company. And also, today Impact Wrestling put out a statement that their action figure line that was supposed to be coming out has been canceled. Was with Asylum, and the statement that Impact Wrestling put out is that it says, Impact Wrestling regretfully announces that its scheduled action figures made by Asylum did not meet Impact standards nor the outlined time frame for release. Thus, Impact Wrestling is now in discussion with other action figure manufacturers for an upcoming release, and no Impact action figures from Asylum will be produced. All prepayments for the Impact action figures made by Asylum will be refunded in full. Refunds will start being processed at the end of August. Thank you for understanding. And also, just a little later after that, Asylum made a quick statement as well. I don't have that here right now, but they pretty much said that it was another company that Asylum, I guess, was going to be selling the figures, but it was another company that actually made them, and they said that it wasn't actually true, that it was their fault about what happened with the figures. So that is too bad that these figures, because they've been talked about for quite a while, about the whole pre-order thing on shopimpact.com, and it's too bad that now they're not coming out. And some more Impact news. Steve Maclin has been cleared to return to in-ring competition. And speaking of Impact Wrestling, Impact and New Japan Pro Wrestling will be presenting Multiverse United 2, For Whom the Bell Tolls, this Sunday night. And I am pretty sure it's safe to say that we will not be seeing a performance from Metallica performing the song for whom the bell tolls. But that'd be pretty neat if that could happen, though. And that is all for tonight's episode 471 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, or if you want to leave your feedback and opinions on tonight's AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, you can in the comment section here on Spreaker or on YouTube or whichever podcast app you listen to on. And I hope to have a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic tomorrow night, talking about Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor. But before then, at 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, of course, the second episode of 360 Anything Goes will be available. And this week, I'm talking about Full House, Beach Boy Bingo, which Full House, one of my favorite all-time TV shows, so hopefully you can check that out. And we'll also be back tomorrow morning for the Thursday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. And that's all for tonight. And until tomorrow morning, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.